How's it? Today is Monday, September 23rd. I have a new old goal. And that goal is to continue lifting, but to improve my overall health and like the health of my shoulders. I think that I am moving in the right direction, especially with last week. Last week felt like I made a meaningful dent in the sort of exercise selection that I was using for the rehab, but also exercise selection for training in general. And I think that that is going to be instrumental for me moving forward. I am trying to just ensure that I can continue lifting for the long term rather than just make a one final push at the end of September. I would have been kind of planning to PR this week had I not encountered all these injuries. And it's kind of crazy to think because I am very, very, very far away from where I used to be in just July. And that is sad to say. It's definitely kind of how the seasons of training goes. You're not always going to be the strongest you are. You're not always going to be the fastest you are. So it's for me, it's like this is just a little downswing in the journey that I'm on, and I am happy to say that I'm still here. I haven't given up, and that is, I think that is admirable in some capacity. For today, just doing 5 kilos up from last week. So snatch, push, press plus overhead squat going up to 95 today for a 3+1. And then I'm going to do 5 triples at 80 for the snatch, the full snatch. And then some snatch pulls at 95. I think last week when I spoke with my coach, he kind of gave me the option to figure out if I wanted to do like power snatch plus a hang power snatch or a hang full or some sort of variation on the lift itself. And I decided that if I'm able to actually execute on the whole lift altogether, then I will just do that moving forward, because for me, when I feel like I'm the strongest, I feel like I can do the whole lift altogether. Or I guess the other way around in that sentiment. So if I feel like I can do the whole lift together, that is when I feel the strongest and I feel the healthiest. It's also when I can lift the most weight. So that is something worth noting. So with that said, I did 75 for 5 triples last week, and it was pretty easy. I think today was a little bit challenging. I think that some of the reps that I was doing were just not, I didn't miss any lifts, but they weren't the best lifting I've ever done. And I think that is honestly not at fault of my shoulder. I feel like my body's still feels pretty sore from that run I did on Thursday. Again, happy birthday. I don't know if you're ever gonna watch this, but happy birthday. I don't know how long this is gonna go. My calves are definitely feeling it still. And here's my first set of 80. I think that what I'm trying to focus on here is just keeping the bar close to myself. And I feel like some of the things that I was thinking about, especially with relation to where my elbows go, were just keep my elbows high, keep my elbows on top of the bar. If I can do that, then usually the bar is right beneath me, or I guess right. I'm trying to motion right here. It's like I'm a scarecrow. If I keep my elbows high, then I'm scarecrowing, and then that means that the bar is literally right under where my elbow is, at like maximum extension. And that in itself is going to make it so that I can get under the bar much quicker or much more efficiently than I would be otherwise. Like this lift here, that was solid. All of my first reps are actually really, really easy, as to be expected. 80 is not a very heavy weight. I power snatched 80 on Friday, so just a few days ago I was like throwing this around for speed. So yeah, I don't know too much else what I was thinking about. I know that when I was kind of going through the training today, the idea is to have just a ton of volume, because that is really where I feel like I gain the most amount of progress from the amount of time invested. or amount of effort invested. I'm not super sure. But when I lift heavy weights like singles, I don't feel like I can necessarily push more on the singles because I'm already at maximum capacity for that volume set. So for this year, I have triples and I'm doing 5 of them. If I go down to 2, then realistically, I could probably do 7 or 8 more kilos pretty comfortably. And if I go down to 1, then maybe it's like 10, maybe 11 kilos, 12 kilos more, like very comfortably. So that is a very, very like good place to be as far as training goes. Like I feel like I make a lot of progress with just volume. And one thing to think about when you're like going through volume is like because you're doing so many reps, you have to select a weight that is lighter. And if you select the weight that is lighter, you have literally, you have I don't know why I said that. You have a smaller chance of getting injured because that weight is just not as high on your percentage range. So, the reason why it's hard is because you are doing extra reps. You're doing the range of motion 3 times, whereas you could be doing the range of motion once. And that, is literally triple the amount of movement. So, all things to think about. This is my last set here. That first rep was very, very solid. I think towards the later sets, I was trying my best to just allow my body to like get to full extension before I went down to catch the bar. And I think that made a lot of a difference in positioning, especially like forward backwards. Like some of them I was catching the bar a little bit forward, and usually that is a sign that I'm not extending completely, that I'm basically just pulling and getting to extension and then allowing my body to get under as quick as possible without allowing the bar to necessarily go forward and backwards where it wants to go. After that, I did my snatch pulls. These feel very light. I think that like when I'm looking at my elbows, I feel like this is an area where I could have a little bit more emphasis on where my elbows go in space, especially because I'm only practicing the extension portion of the lift. I think another thing, like totally different than where my technique is, but a few weeks ago, doing these pulls didn't feel very great on my shoulder. So this is just really positive, that I'm able to do them to this extent. It's not super heavy, but it is honest work, and it's not detrimental in my opinion to where I'm trying to get to as far as progress goes. Afterwards, I did my pull-ups, and then I did some pal-off presses. Yeah, today was, new goal, new old goal. Today just feels like one of those days where if I can stack enough of these days together, then I will be in a better spot overall, like physically and mentally. I will be in a healthier position, and I feel like these are the days that are very, very necessary. These are the foundational days, the building block days that you cannot skip out on. Yeah, we'll see what happens in the coming weeks, but I'm very optimistic for it. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Shoots.